mop up the juices, you know, after we get done cooking. So it really, it's a great hearty appetizer dish to put out there. The other thing that I like doing is warm up a little bit of pasta and put the open over pasta too as well. It's a really tasty dish. So you folks have that recipe out there. So I really would ask you to try preparing it at home. And this is Delios. He's our wine sommelier, my partner as well at the Greek table. And Funky is going to be introducing us to the combinations of wine that should be going with each one of these dishes that we're going to prepare today. So,
I just want to welcome everybody and thank you for coming to the actual show at the Greek Table, which is actually an educational seminar of simple ways of cooking, but here we're going to implement our Greek cuisine. Paul's mission here today is to basically give you some of his signature dishes. He'll break it down into a very easy format so that it's not so intimidating at home. And the bottom line here that Paul is also going to try to accomplish with you today is to show you how to blend flavors. There's millions and millions of different types of combinations of flavors, ingredients, and so forth. So that's why we handed out the different recipe cards. And as Paul goes through the process, if you have questions, if you have comments, please feel free to project whenever you want. This is all about your experience, your learning. After each segment, Paul will be available for more questions and just simple socializing afterwards. As Paul's finishing up the different dishes, I will definitely go into some of the wine pairings that we have here today. Putari, which is one of the sponsors here at the festival, has been generous to give us some of their different selections that Paul will also cook with. What we'll show you is what the dish is like when the recipes are prepared with that particular wine. So this should be fun. Enjoy. I'm sure everyone here might have different versions of what Paul might be cooking today. But for the most part, it's something different to experience. So you can welcome, thank you. We'll be doing these throughout the rest of the evening, the afternoon for that matter. And I'll turn it over to Paul and enjoy.
Biggest thing, thank you. The biggest thing that I want to bring to light, that the wines that we'll be using to cook with should also be the wines that you drink at home. That you shouldn't buy one of those wines at the supermarket that is loaded with sodium because they don't want you to drink it off the shelf. Whatever you're drinking, cook with that wine. I would be remiss right now if I didn't thank the folks over at Whole Foods for supplying the ingredients for this segment. So I just want to say thank you very much. They've done us some wonderful fresh mussels. So let's get started. First thing that I like to do is put a little bit of olive oil into the pan. Now, as you can see, this is kind of smoky. The pan is good and hot. So I'm going to add my ingredients off to the side. Tilt the oil away from me because I don't want it to splash back up. So we'll put the onions in. We have some sliced white onions. We're going to add a little bit of garlic in there. Now, it's cooling down just so. Pepper. A little crushed red pepper because we want to add some heat to it. And we want that pepper to cook up a little bit. Take the oil and get it seasoned up with that. I'm going to add just a touch more olive oil in here because you're going to never have enough good olive oil. We'll let this saute up just a bit. Now, how many of you folks know how to cut the cherry tomatoes, so grape tomatoes? The easiest way that I've found over the years, take the tomatoes, lay them down, and just grab a lid like this, put it over the top so you don't cut your hands, and just kind of go like that. All right? Okay, so we throw these in with it as well. We're going to do it before. Just press it down like that, so you don't cut your hand, and just pass right through them. All right? Pump those in. Now, what we want to do as well, our open wine cookie.
wine.
Open wine. I know we have it. The other thing that we're going to do as we go along, toss a little bit of butter in at the beginning here. Smooth everything out just a little bit. The lactic acid inside the butter, along with other dairy products, it evens out the other acid that you'll get out of the wine and the acidity that you have. Now lactic acid kind of balances everything out for you. We've got a little ouzo. What we're going to do is we're going to... Nobody brought a glass of it. You know.
Oh, you need ouzo?
We can use all for drinking.
Okay.
So, no, you love it, man. Take a little sip. Nice. That's it. All right. Let's see. A little black pepper. We'll put that in. We want to keep seasoning up the oil just a touch. Put some parsley in as well. In the beginning, it's not just to garnish with. It also adds some flavor to things. A little bit of salt, please, Joanne. Thank you. Don't be stingy with the salt either. You're having seafood. You want to put salt in with it. Now, we're going to grab a handful of the mussels here. Put those in. There is a thing, and the folks inside were kind enough to help us. Mussels have a little bit of a beard, and the folks inside cleaned them off for us. The other thing is with the mussels, you want to kind of bang them together a little bit, make sure that they're shut and they're not open. So we'll put those in. We're going to add a little bit of wine. Don't be stingy with that either. A little bit of the clam broth in there. And the elixir of the gods, especially after you have it, you think you're one. So, a little bit of that in there. And hold that up to the side. That's our cover. We have the other So, I'm going to let those steam. Now, while we're doing that, move this off to the side. Feta. Okay, nice. Feta. Alright, with feta,
Right up on the steak, so right here.
you want to cube it up. Nothing fancy. I'm not one of those chefs that cuts real fast. I still have my fingers intact, thank God. So just cube it up. And after the mussels open up, I like to put the feta in there for a couple of minutes to finish it off. Gives it a little bit of that creaminess that I was talking about. The feta just starts to break down a touch. Okay. So we've got some good feta here. Mussels are cooking along the way we want them. It's going to make a nice broth. They're going to release their liquor, and you know the mussel liquor will come out of them. Then we're going to finish them off with the feta. We're going to add a little bit of the chopped green onion. We'll add a little bit more parsley to it, and we'll finish it with a little bit of butter as well. All right? Yes.
How do you decide what you want?
Well, actually, I like something that's got a little bit of minerality to it, but for this particular occasion, Forty picked out the wine. Do you want to explain why you chose this particular wine for us to cook with today?
Paul's actually using one of Mari's selection from the island Santorini. It's called Calisti, and it's actually a production that's made from a grape called the Citrico, which is a native grape of Santorini. And this particular selection has been aged and fermented in oak barrels, so that it takes on, and it goes through a process called malolactic fermentation, so that it creates some roundness and creaminess. And since Paul's using feta, and the type of feta that we're using has that element of creaminess, we're combining the flavors of the feta that will play along with the style of wine. So that way, when you're having it, the flavors aren't off. Sometimes if you have too many acidic components, and so if the food is acidic and the wine is acidic, sometimes they might not play together and so forth. So the best wine that we felt for this occasion and for this particular dish was the Calista from Santorini that's been aged in oak. For that matter, if you can't get access to a wine as such, any type of Chardonnay that's been aged in oak will do as well. So that's why we chose that. And hopefully there'll be an opportunity here to sample a little bit of what Paul's making. And for those of you that might be interested, you can also have a sip of the wine so you can see what we're talking about when we're trying to flavor.
Does that answer the question? Good. Well, anybody else? I'm curious about anything that we're doing here right now. Actually, this was the feta that Whole Foods sent over to us. It's creamy. It's creamy, and it will allow for it to break down a little bit. Now, I want to stress another thing. We have some plum tomatoes here. If you don't have little cherry tomatoes, don't hesitate. You know, chop up the plum tomatoes. These are chopped up. Throw a few of those on there as well. It's not going to hurt anything. And plum tomatoes are wonderful in they are like in sweetness, like the grape tomatoes or the cherry tomatoes. They have that nice sweetness to them. Although the plum tomato has a lot more meatiness to it, and that's why you'll find it used in a lot of sauces. When one makes tomato sauce or something of that nature, you would find that in it. Thank you. So, give this a little bit of a stir. We want to bring up some of the broth and put it over and kind of infuse the feta into the whole dish as well. Can you smell that from there? Are you liking what you smell? That's what I want to know. All right. Okay. So, we'll add a little bit more of the green onion in with it. We're going to give it a little bit more of the butter to finish this off. And don't be stingy with the butter either. We'll come back on just a couple of minutes. You know, I see a lot of people, and what they try to do is they try to cut back on the fats and things like that. If you have everything in moderation, it's not going to be, and it's, you know, the big Greek thing years ago, over the centuries, everybody would have everything. You never saw your parents at home skipping on the olive oil or skipping on the cheese at all. They always ate everything, but they did it in moderation. And I still say the same thing. Don't look at me, because as a chef, we test everything, and these things happen sometimes. Instead of a little thing, you know, we do a big one. But in moderation, everything is fine, you know. And I try not to, when I'm cooking, hold off on anything, because I want that fat, I want that flavor. You just have a little bit less. Don't have as much. The other thing is, we got to move a little bit too. All right. So, where do we want to plate this up? This bowl, and then we can. Right from there? All right. Okay.
If I did.
Your bottle of wine is right here. Here you go. Okay. You want to go on top of this? Okay, so we're going to let them go over here. So where am I? Next up, we're going to put together, yes.
Would you substitute shrimp?
Could you substitute shrimp? Absolutely, you could. You could substitute shrimp. You could use little neck clams if you'd like. You could probably make the sauce as is and pour that over some whitefish of some type, whether it's haddock or cod.